Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're digging into a retail mystery, Walgreens versus shoplifters.
Oh, sounds intriguing.
And get this, our main source is this super interesting article from Proactive.
Okay,
Turns out, trying to outsmart shoplifters is way more complicated than you might think.
I bet. What happened?
Well, back in 2021, Walgreens had this huge surge in shrink, like a 52% jump.
Shrink?
Yeah, it's retail lingo for lost inventory, mostly from theft.
Wow, 52%. That's a lot.
Right, so they wanted to crack down on it, obviously.
Makes sense. What do they do?
Well, they started by upping security, like locking more stuff up, the usual.
Yeah, seems logical.
But here's the twist. The CEO, Tim Wentworth, actually admitted that it backfired.
Really? How so?
He said, and I quote, "When you lock things up, for example, you don't sell as many of them. We've kind of proven that pretty conclusively."
Whoa, talk about a catch-22. Though trying to prevent shoplifting actually hurt their sales.
Exactly. It's this
Right.
crazy balancing act for retailers.
Yeah, you got to protect your stuff,
Uh,
but you can't turn your store into Fort Knox either.
Totally. Customers don't want to feel like they're being treated like criminals.
No way.
Yeah.
Imagine needing an employee to unlock everything you want to buy. Toothpaste, batteries, forget it.
Oh, man. I actually had that happen to me the other day. Talk about annoying.
Ugh, yeah, makes shopping a chore.
For real. And that annoyance, that's a big takeaway here.
Totally. It's all about the customer experience. If it's too much hassle, people won't come back, even if they aren't shoplifting.
So even though Walgreens did manage to get their shrink down from 3.5% of sales in 2022 to around 2.6% this year.
Still a win, right?
Yeah, but was it worth the hit to customer satisfaction? That's the big question.
Did they win the battle but lose the war? This is why this deep dive is so cool.
Right. It's not just about shoplifting. It's this whole ecosystem of retail, security, sales, customers.
It's like this big puzzle.
And I bet it's not just a Walgreens problem.
Yeah, not at all. Think about it. Shoplifting's been on the rise everywhere lately. This is a glimpse into the future of retail.
Totally. How do stores adapt to changing behaviors, the economy, and the whole theft thing
Yeah.
without alienating their customers?
Right. It's like this huge challenge.
And speaking of challenges, the article mentions Walgreens is working on these creative solutions.
Creative, huh?
Yeah.
Spill the beans. What are they thinking?
They don't say, but it makes you wonder, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to be more subtle with security, deter theft without freaking people out.
Maybe. Or what if they focus on making the overall experience so good that people just don't want to steal?
Interesting. Like, make customers feel so valued, they don't even think about shoplifting.
Yeah, it's like a whole different approach.
Right. Instead of just defense, it's more holistic. It's about building a relationship.
Wow, that's deep. It's not just about security measures anymore. It's psychology, sociology.
Totally. It's understanding why people shoplift in the first place, the
Wow.
root causes.
Now we're getting somewhere. This is where it gets really interesting.
Absolutely. We're going deeper than just how to stop people from stealing.
We're talking about why they steal, society's role, how to create a better shopping experience for everyone.
Exactly. And to get to those deeper questions, we need to look beyond just Walgreens.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Let's zoom out, look at the bigger trends shaping retail. That's next. Stick with us. So we've talked about all the challenges, but what about solutions? Like, what are retailers actually doing to fight back?
Yeah, good question. I'm curious too.
Well, one big area is tech, obviously. Stores are using all sorts of cool stuff.
Like what? Give me the techie details.
Okay, so think AI-powered cameras, even facial recognition software in some places.
Whoa, hold on. Isn't that kind of creepy? Like Big Brother watching you buy groceries?
Yeah, there's definitely a privacy line. They got to be careful not to cross.
For sure. It can't feel like you're being spied on just for shopping.
Totally. Transparency is key. Stores need to be upfront about how they're using this tech.
So it's not just slapping up cameras and calling it a day. There's more to it.
Right. It's about being ethical, responsible. Plus, what works for a giant store might not work for a small boutique.
Makes sense. It's got to be tailored to the place and the people shopping there.
Exactly. And it's going to be a constant evolution. Retailers adapting as tech changes, shoplifters finding new ways.
It's like a game of cat and mouse, almost.
Totally. And as tech gets more advanced, both sides got to up their game.
Speaking of outsmarting, what about those little tags on clothes, the RFID things? Do those actually work?
Oh yeah, RFID is pretty cool. They're like tiny chips emitting radio waves so stores can track stuff.
So if you try to walk out with something you didn't pay for...
Alarm bells. It's like an invisible security guard for each item.
Whoa, that's kind of sci-fi. But I bet those tags cost a lot, right?
It's an investment, for sure, but lots of retailers think it's worth it.
Because it stops theft, A&D helps them manage inventory better.
Exactly. It's like that saying, got to spend money to make money.
True that. But we've been talking a lot about the store side. What about the employees?
Oh, you're so right. They're the ones dealing with this stuff every day.
Yeah, and that can't be easy. Imagine having to confront someone who's stealing.
It's stressful, potentially dangerous, and emotionally draining, too.
Definitely. It's not just about the money the store loses. It's about the impact on the people who work there.
Their safety, their well-being matters, too. Retailers can't forget that.
So it's not enough to just have fancy cameras. You got to support your employees too.
Exactly. Give them the training, the resources, empower them to handle these situations safely.
Right, invest in the human side of things, not just the tech.
Because happy, well-trained employees, that leads to better customer experience, right?
Yeah,
It all connects.
it does. But
Yeah.
okay, let's zoom out even more. Are there solutions beyond the store itself?
Good question. Now we're getting into things like social programs, community initiatives.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, there's this growing idea of restorative justice. It's pretty just...
Restorative justice, what's that all about?
So instead of just punishing someone who shoplifts, you try to figure out why they did it.
Okay, so you get to the root of the problem instead of just reacting to it.
Right. Is it poverty? Lack of opportunity? Maybe they need help, not jail time.
Makes sense. But how does that actually work? Do you, like, sit down and have a chat with the shoplifter?
Sometimes, yeah. It often involves this facilitated dialogue between them and the store, the victim.
Interesting. So it's about understanding each other, not just punishment.
Exactly. The shoplifter takes responsibility. They work out a way to make amends, like community service, apology letters,
So it's about accountability, making things right.
and hopefully preventing them from stealing again in the future.
That's the goal, right? But does it actually work? Like, do people really stop shoplifting after this?
The research is looking pretty good.
Mm.
It seems to be more effective than just sending people through the courts.
Okay, that's promising. But I bet it takes a lot of work to make these programs successful.
For sure. It's not a quick fix.
Mm.
It needs commitment from everyone involved.
The shoplifters, the stores, and even the community, right?
Exactly. It's a big shift in thinking. Instead of reacting to crime, we try to prevent it in the first place.
So we're talking about addressing things like poverty, social issues, that kind of stuff.
Right. It's way bigger than just catching someone with a stolen candy bar.
Whoa, this is getting deep. So this whole shoplifting thing, it's like a window into so many bigger problems.
Absolutely. That's what makes this deep dive so fascinating, right?
It is. We started with Walgreens and shoplifters. Now we're talking about the whole justice system, social change.
And it's all connected. This is what I love about these conversations.
Me too. So we've got these restorative justice programs. They sound promising, but are they the answer?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's still so much to learn about how they work, what the challenges are.
Okay, so where do we go from here? I'm hooked on this restorative justice thing now. So we were talking about restorative justice, right? It seems like such a different approach to shoplifting.
It is. It's about changing how we think about things. Instead of just punishment, we focus on fixing the harm and helping the offender become part of the community again.
Okay, I get the idea, but how does it actually work? Like, what happens in these programs?
Well, there are different ways to do it, but often it involves a conversation, like a guided dialogue between the shoplifter and the store.
So they actually sit down together.
Yeah. They talk about what happened, the impact of the crime. The shoplifter takes responsibility for what they did.
And then what?
Then, together, they come up with a plan for the shoplifter to make things right.
Like, what kind of plan?
It could be community service, paying back the store, even just writing an apology letter.
So it's about making amends, not just getting punished.
Right. It's about understanding accountability.
That makes sense. But the big question is, does it actually work? Do people stop shoplifting because of this?
That's what we all want to know, right? And the research is pretty encouraging. Yeah, it seems like these programs can be really effective at stopping people from stealing again, especially compared to traditional courts.
That's good to hear. But I imagine it's not easy to set up these programs and make them work.
You're right, it takes time, effort. It's not a quick fix. It depends on how the program's designed, if everyone's committed to it, and if the community supports it.
So it's a whole system, not just a one-time thing.
Exactly. But it's promising, not just for the shoplifters, but for everyone involved.
Yeah, it's like everyone wins if it works. So it's not about being tough on crime. It's about helping people.
Right. It's a more hopeful approach, I think.
Definitely. It's like instead of asking, how do we stop bad people,
Yeah.
we're asking, how do we create a society where people don't need to steal?
That's a great way to put it. We're getting to the root of the problem, which might be poverty, a lack of opportunities, maybe mental health
Right,
issues.
it's all connected. And it takes us back to that idea, shoplifting isn't just a random thing, it's a sign of bigger problems.
Absolutely. And that's one of the big takeaways from this whole deep dive, right? We started with Walgreens, but look where we ended up.
I know, it's crazy. From security cameras to employee training to the whole justice system, it's all part of this big picture.
That's what I love about these conversations. We peel back the layers, discover all these connections.
We realize there's no easy answer. It's complicated.
Totally. There's no magic solution to shoplifting. It's going to take a lot of different strategies working together.
Like everyone needs to be involved. Stores, police, the government, community groups, even just regular shoppers like us.
It's a shared responsibility.
So I'm walking away from this with a lot to think about. It's challenging, but there's hope too, you know?
I agree. It's about facing the complexity, being willing to try new things.
And asking tough questions, being open to different perspectives. That's how we make progress.
Exactly. And thanks for joining us on this journey, everyone. Until next time.